Violence always affects the life of innocent civilians, but it poses a massive threat to those from the minority community. A large number of Shia Muslims living in Afghanistan and Pakistan are worried about growing aggression after the withdrawal of US-led NATO forces. The Hazara Shia community, which has suffered discrimination, persecution and massacres because of their ethnicity, are apprehensive as the Taliban is gaining stronghold in Afghanistan. We have a report.
This is the aftermath of a car bombing in Kabul. On 8th of May, at least 50 people died and more than 100 wounded in 3 explosions targeting girls outside a school in the Dashtebachi area of West Kabul, an area populated largely by the Shiite Hazara community. The attack was not the first time that the Hazaras had been targeted by extremist outfits in Afghanistan. They have often been targeted by extremist groups, whether it's the Taliban or Islamic State. For the country's minority Hazaras, such attacks are grim reminders of the persecution they endured under the rule of mainly ethnic Pashtun and Sunni Taliban, which viewed Shiites as apostates. Now, the member of Shia and Hazara community are raising concerns with regard to the recent developments in Afghanistan after the withdrawal of foreign troops from the war-torn country.
In Afghanistan, we believe there is a genocide going on against the Hazaras and the Shias. And because most of the attacks are directed against us in Western Kabul, as well as other areas of Afghanistan, but mostly in Western Kabul, where we have a large number of people concentrated there. Our schools, our hospitals, universities, courses, sports clubs, any gathering that they can find, they target. And the latest was about 2 months ago, where they targeted the girls' school, a high school, and more than 100 of our youngsters were dead.
Throughout the 20th century, successive Pashtun-led regimes in Afghanistan targeted the Hazaras, the country's third largest ethnic group, making up about 20% of the population. They were massacred and tortured. Uprisings were viciously crushed. Their religious leaders were jailed, women were abducted. Most Hazara languished in poverty and humiliation, forced to take menial jobs. Their persecution particularly began during the reign of Amir Abdul Rahman, who ruled from 1880 to 1901 and sold and bought people from the Hazara community as slaves.
The king or emir of those days, called Abdul Rahman Khan, he had to use religion in order to collect people to fight in Afghanistan. So he waged a holy war, so to speak, a jihad against the Shias. He took the fatwa of some of the Sunni religious leaders, and he declared a jihad against the Shias, and all the people from both sides of the line, Duran line, that later on became to be known. They went to Afghanistan, and they plundered central part of Afghanistan. Much of what is nowadays Kandahar and Zabul and other provinces were Hazara territory.
The situation in neighboring Pakistan is no different. This vulnerable minority group is facing threats from several extremist and terror outfits in Pakistan. According to Pakistan's National Commission of Human Rights, more than 2,000 Hazaras have been killed in Pakistan in the last 15 years. It is believed that Lashkar-e-Jhangvi is responsible for most of these killings. Though Pakistan's ISI has termed Lashkar-e-Jhangvi as one of the most virulent terrorist organizations, evidence still suggests that the state continues to support it. Most of the similar terror outfits are run by Sunni Muslim hardliners, and this is the reason why Pakistan government and the ISI try to avoid confrontation at all cost, and on many occasions they even support these groups.
ये जो दहशतगर्दी है इसके पीछे वर्दी है, which means army is promoting terrorism. This has become the most common slogan in Pakistan among the Shias as well as the Baloch, Sindhis, Pashtun and people of Gilgit-Baltistan. This shows that people have a basic awareness and an understanding of the driving forces behind the large-scale killings of the civilians, especially the racial and religious minorities opposing Pakistan's strategic depth paradigm. In Pakistan, the relationship of military and the militants is supreme, and it comes at the cost of the security and well-being of people like Shias. This means that the law enforcers and the security personnel will not come to the rescue of Shias, Baloch or the Hazaras when militants attack to displace or eliminate them.
Hazaras in Afghanistan have faced decades of abuse and state-sponsored discrimination, most recently under the Taliban regime between 1996 to 2001. The power vacuum that foreign forces leave behind in Afghanistan could claim the Hazaras among its first victims.